In this comparison, we're going to talk about a couple of triple camera contenders, as one begins to encroach on territory that the other pioneered. This is Pocketnow, and I'm Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a comparison between the LG V40 ThinQ and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. Now, before we get started, let me reiterate, as I always do with these versus pieces, that this is meant to invite discussion. I'm going to go through my thoughts and experience with these phones, but let us know which one you might pick between these two and why in the comment sections down below. Also, while the full name of the LG device is indeed LG V40 ThinQ, we're just going to go ahead and remove that last word moving forward in this video. Both phones are sleek, with Huawei managing to make its 6.4-inch screen feel just a little slimmer by adding curves to the side. The V40 kept a general convention by having the fingerprint reader on the back, and it still works as well as you would expect. That is in contrast to the in-display fingerprint reader found on the Mate 20 Pro, which still suffers from a little bit of inaccuracy and is arguably slower as a result. It's a cool innovation that we're sure to see more often, but the execution here keeps it from being a total win. Of course, in either phone you can just use facial recognition as a means to unlock the phone anyway. LG keeps their design a bit more feature-heavy by having an extra button on the side for triggering Google Assistant. While Google Assistant is of course available on the Mate 20 Pro via classic methods, what is nice about the V40's button is that by holding down that button, you can speak to Google Assistant kind of like in a walkie-talkie fashion. Huawei also moved forward with the smartphone trends by removing the headphone jack, perhaps to the dismay of some users. Now, I'm getting used to this with my own truly wireless earbuds, but I will admit that the quad DAC found on the LG V40 is incredible for enjoying music. Also on the sound front, the V40 has the boombox speaker, which makes any surface that it sits on blast the audio content because of a bigger resonance chamber. Both phones sport notches as a means to get closer to a full screen experience. LG took it a little bit further in the branding with the returning second screen name, but for the most part, the notches on both phones operate in basically the same ways. That said, viewing experiences on both phones are top-notch, as the AMOLED display of the Mate 20 Pro is pretty much matched by the POLED LG screen. LG is known for making some pretty great screens after all. Media is fun to watch, text is nice and sharp, and games benefit from the vivid colors that both of these screens allow. Also, both phones have always-on displays showing off just enough useful information, but LG one-ups Huawei here by allowing for further customization. Both LG's UI and EMUI look as streamlined as ever, but the sheer amount of things that you can do in either of them might be a little bit overwhelming to users who are just looking for simplicity. EMUI is a bit busier than LG's UI in its different design elements, but there are also things like knuckle gestures, a magazine lock screen that scrolls through nice-looking images on a screen that you might not look at very often, and full-screen gestures that completely do away with the nav bar. LG's UI has a similarly large amount of features, including its knock code gestures that you can use instead of the passcodes, extensions to the nav bar that actually add buttons, context awareness options, and some gaming tools to get the most out of your playtime. Not to mention all of the different applications that both Huawei and LG bake into their operating systems that can replace Google or third-party equivalents. Your opinions on the software will differ based upon which one looks better to you, but the bottom line here is that there's a ton you can do in either version of Android. It just matters how you want to get it done. The same goes for the different hardware bits as well. Both phones sport high-end specifications, with the 10nm Snapdragon 845 powering the LG V40 and the in-house 7nm Kirin 980 powering the Mate 20 Pro. Base levels of RAM start at 6GB, but the Mate 20 Pro allows for a higher capacity at 8. The same goes for onboard storage, as the Mate 20 Pro can pack in 256GB of storage as compared to the V40's 128 throughout. Now, the smaller 3300 mAh battery of the LG V40 just doesn't match the longevity of the large 4200 mAh unit that Huawei managed to pack in the Mate 20 Pro. The V40 does get a full day without any problems, but the Mate 20 Pro can easily get to a day and a half. Both have wireless charging as well, but only the Mate 20 Pro has the ability to do wireless charging output. To be fair, this is a neat trick, but it's not meant to charge other phones effectively. Which finally gets us to the cameras. We wanted to look at these phones because both sport 3 of them on the back, and the LG V40 actually also puts 2 on the front. These are a regular and a wide at 8 megapixels and 5 megapixels respectively. The wide angle on the front is useful for getting more people in the frame both in photos and videos with decent enough results. Compare that to the more powerful 24 megapixel single shooter on the front of the Mate 20 Pro, which thankfully is a bit wide on its own. Pictures from the Mate 20 Pro are a bit more saturated and are understandably more detailed when zooming in because it has a higher megapixel count. Where the fun lies, of course, is in the back cameras, which are in different orientations. The LG V40 puts all of the lenses in a line, a 12 megapixel standard, 16 wide angle, and now 12 megapixel optical zoom. Meanwhile, the Mate 20 Pro puts them all down in what I call a stove. Again, with higher megapixel counts at 40 megapixels for the standard, 20 for the wide, and 8 for the optical zoom lens. If you're a big user of zoom lenses in general, let us know in the comments. But of course, if you know me, you know I am a fan of the wide-angle lens, and both are pretty great in these phones. LG will always be known as a pioneer of the wide angle, but Huawei has done a great job in bringing their own spins on it. This particular comparison is an exercise in trade-offs, as there are some real differences in what features are offered. For example, LG continues the V-series trope of manual video controls. This gives you a lot of freedom over how you shoot footage. You can control focus manually, for example, which is great to do with focus peaking before you hit record, and then for smoothly doing transitions and focus racks while recording. Unfortunately, the wide-angle lens is a fixed focus in this regard, but still, you have all the other options for creative control when using the wide angle. The V40 does a decent job in low-light photography because of its pixel binning, but that's where the Huawei features start to shine. You might not be able to manually control video with the wide angle of the Mate 20 Pro, but you can make a very dramatic photo from it using the night mode. Overall, pictures and videos from both of these phones come out really pleasing, though from a purely spec standpoint, the Leica-developed cameras of the Mate 20 Pro are more powerful. Pictures from it are a bit more saturated, while the V40 opts for a softer look with warmer tones. Obviously, when it comes to which camera package is better, it really depends on your priorities. The V40 allows for higher bitrate videos through the Pro mode, as well as all of that control. But the photo modes of the Mate 20 Pro add a little more versatility via features that you can use in any of its lenses. And so there you have it, a way for us to get into a discussion about which of these phones might be best for you. Both of them sport a lot of different cameras, and LG is prideful in saying they have 5 cameras on their phone. But whether or not that combination is best for you depends on your needs, and the same goes for the rest of these phones. You won't have any problems getting a good high-end experience on the daily with these, so we want to know which one you would pick in the comment sections down below. So I'm going to call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe to Pocketnow for further content. You can also subscribe to my channel so you can see what I'm up to as well. As a bonus, I did a couple of vlogs using these phones, so you can really see what the camera quality might be like on both of these phones via some content that I made. The links are appearing right now, and you can also find them in the description down below. But until our next videos, we're going to go ahead and just call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.